Hi everyone, I'm Tristan, and today we are going to do questions 106 to 115 of a TOEIC test. 10 questions. That's amazing, and I'm going to show you how to get the answer. I hope you're excited, because I am. Let's get started. Here's the first question. All right, so this comes down to basic grammar. First, when you use think as a verb, it will not have a direct noun after it. So I can think of something, I can think about something, but it's wrong if I say, I often think my future. That is a direct object. Correct, I often think about my future. I often think of my future. Or I can say, think that subject verb. For example, I often think that my future will be challenging, but I cannot just go subject thinks noun. Because of this, we can eliminate D immediately. Creator is a noun. So eliminate D. Now let's get this answer. We are describing the way we need to think. We are describing how we think. Therefore, we will need an adverb. 99% of adverbs end with ly. For example, I think slowly, I think quickly, I think creatively. Therefore, the answer is creatively. That's a fast one, 106. Now let's look at 107. This one we can answer quickly. We see the key word then, THAN. Therefore, we need a comparative adjective before. For example, he is taller than me, so that's ER. Or he is more aggressive than me, so we have more adjective. Or it is less difficult than I had expected. Then is a huge clue. When you see then, you will need a comparative form. The comparative form here is C, more spacious, more spacious. So once we see then, we've got the answer. All right, let's go to 108. Now here's a key tip for the TOEIC test. You will not put that after a comma. For example, you could say it was a decision that affected the whole country. But if you say it was the decision, comma, that affected the whole country, this is wrong. You will not have a comma before that. So we can eliminate B immediately. Now, let's get the idea of this whole TOEIC sentence. Look at the original idea. Dr. Chin works in the office opposite mine. You have been enjoying Dr. Chin's book. Now, you can see this is a possessive form. Dr. Chin's, his, her book. They wrote it, it is their book. When you use his, her, its, their, my, our, Dr. Chin's in an adjective clause, you will use whose. Let's look at a couple examples. My sister is thinking about quitting her job. I have been friends with her boss for several years. All right, so my sister, whose boss, because it's her boss, I have been friends with for several years, is thinking about quitting her job because I'm saying her boss. The company is looking to expand. Its sales have risen significantly over the last 10 years. The company, whose sales, because it's whose sales have risen significantly over the last 10 years, is looking to expand. So we can see Dr. Chin, whose book, so her book, his book, you have been enjoying, works in the office opposite me. All right, so we know there the answer is whose, so A. Now let's look at 109. Well, this is quick. When you talk about a street, road, boardwalk, or avenue, you will use on. For example, I'm on Johnson Road. I'm on Johnson Street. I'm on Johnson Avenue. So the answer is B. Let's go to 110. This one is all about context. Grammar will not help you. But first, let's go over some key vocabulary. The phrasal verb get along with. If somebody gets along with someone, they are friendly with them. They have a good relationship with them. Here's an example. I really get along with Haruka. She's funny, smart, empathetic, and quite beautiful. Next, my boss is hard to get along with. He is often rude and impatient. So, we know get along with means have a good relationship. Now, for this question, all the options could be grammatically correct. So read the whole sentence and understand the main idea. For example, we can simplify. I like my work. Blank, I don't get along with my colleagues. Well, the answer here is but, because but shows surprise or opposite direction. So, I like my work, that's positive. I don't get along with my colleagues, that's negative. So we have opposites. This changes direction, so the answer is but. Number 111. For this one, simplify it. Make it as simple as you can. So we can just say, we return the table because we discovered a small what? Why would we return the table? Because there's a problem with the table. That's why. That's a good reason. There is something negative. Which word is negative? The answer is C, flaw. A flaw is a noun, that is something that is wrong, something that isn't perfect. For example, there was a flaw with the sink. We could only get hot water. We couldn't get cold water. So there was a problem. So that is using the noun form. If we use the adjective, we could say her argument was flawed. So her argument was weak, not strong. Or she has flawless skin. So that means perfect skin, because flawless is without flaws, without mistakes, without problems. Do not worry about the other words. They are just there to confuse you. You return the table. Why? There was a problem. There was a mistake. What's another word for that? Flaw. 112. Grammar will not help you with this question. All of these verbs are simple past, so we need to use vocabulary knowledge. First, eliminate lengthened and extended. They mean the same thing, to make longer. For example, the city extended the road, so they made the road longer. You could also say the city lengthened the road, made the road longer. If both words are the same thing, then you can't pick one. Now, here's a quick vocabulary tip. If you see adjective or noun plus en and it becomes a verb, it means make it more. Let me explain. He strengthened his skills. Now, strength is the noun for the adjective strong. So, strengthen means make stronger. So, he made his skills stronger. Another example, she whitened her teeth. She made her teeth whiter. Here are some more examples of these words where you have adjective or noun plus en to equal a verb, and they mean make it more of that. Okay, so now our choices are consented and interfered. Well, let's look at the context. Roberta blank to take on some extra duties. Well, Take on some extra duties means accept more work. So what would be logical here? What would make sense? Well, I think agree. She agreed to do more work. A more formal word for agree to something or agree to do something is consent. Now, consent to is the verb, but consent can also be a noun. Let's look at some examples. She consented to change her work schedule. You could also say she consented to changing her work schedule. So she said, I will accept this. I will permit this. Number 2, she consented to the company changing her work schedule. So she said, that's okay. I give you permission. If you use the noun, she gave consent to the company to change her work schedule. So the most logical word here is consented. She said, I agree to do this. I give you permission to have me do this. So the answer is D, consented. 113. Well, we can eliminate 2 answers immediately based on grammar. First is B, between. When you use between, you need between A and B. If you say, I saw her between 7 p.m., it is not logical. But if you said, I saw her between 7 and 8 p.m., this is correct. We do not have and, nor do we have plural, so eliminate between. Next, eliminate during. We eliminate during, which is D, because after during, you will have an event. You will not have a specific time or specific date. For example, I watched a lot of TV during the Olympics. That's fine. But if you said, I watched a lot of TV during Tuesday, strange. I watched a lot of TV during 8:30, strange. So eliminate during. So now we have C and A. Remember with until, when you use until plus noun or subject verb is when the first sentence stopped. Here's an example. I worked at the university until 2018. So I stopped working at the university in 2018. Or, she was the best player on the team until she broke her leg. So she stopped being the best player when she broke her leg. Well, let's look at this question again. Is this logical? Have the documents on my desk until 8 p.m.? So they will stop being on my desk at 8 p.m.? No, this is not logical. Therefore, the best answer is A, before. 114. Before we get this answer, let's look at some key vocabulary. The first is once subject verb, comma, subject verb. This means as soon as or when. For example, once I left the airport, I went straight to my hotel. This equals as soon as I left the airport. Or once I got home, I went to bed. Next is credentials. Credentials are skills, certificates, abilities, etc. that make someone good for a job. An example, he applied to be a nurse at the hospital, but was not hired because he didn't have any credentials. He had no education or experience in the field, so he didn't have credentials. Or, she has the credentials to be CEO. She has an MBA and has been vice president at the company for 10 years. So she has the skills, she has the qualifications. The next word is something is in order. This means everything is organized and correct. Here's an example. She can apply for a visa as all her documents are in order. Okay, let's look at this TOEIC question again. Simplify it if it helps you. So, if we simplify, it could be when we blank, his resume or application was all true and correct, we offered him the job. Well, the best answer is A, validate. Validate is to ensure, make sure, or check, or prove that the information is true. Here's an example. He told everyone that he was a French prince. However, when we tried to validate it, we couldn't find any evidence. Or, she told everyone the painting was by Van Gogh, but no one could validate it. So it makes sense to say once we validated that his credentials were in order, we offered him the job, because it equals once we made sure his resume was true, accurate, we offered him the job. Finally, 115, last question. Well, we can start with the grammar to eliminate two answers immediately. When you use require as an active verb, you need a noun after it. For example, subject requires noun. Humans require water. The company required employees, there's the noun, to wear uniforms. We need a noun, so eliminate C and D immediately. These are not nouns. So now we have A and B. Well, B is a good guess because there is no an. So many people think you should have advices or an advice. But the bad news is advice is non-countable. This is like feedback. Feedback is non-countable. These are words like information, furniture, air, etc. I cannot give you a good reason why. Because advice is non-countable, there will be no S on advice. Someone gives advice. If you want to count it, you can give a piece of advice or two pieces of advice, but you cannot give an advice, you cannot give advices, and you cannot give two advices. Therefore, the answer is A. This was fast. This was quick. We answered 10 questions correctly. Hopefully, you can use this knowledge when you take the TOEIC test. Stay tuned because next lesson will be starting at 116 and we'll continue this test. Please subscribe, like, share, hit that button. Have a wonderful day. Bye.